Welcome back to Yahoo Finance. Hologic making waves in the sports world last week with the announcement it's going to sponsor the Women's Tennis Association. Dave Briggs sat down with the CEO and has more. Dave.
Thanks, Michelle. Yeah, it's the first time since 2010 the WA has had an official corporate sponsor. Hologic and the WTA made that official last week, and it goes well beyond tennis. As world number one Ashley Barty said she looks forward to the impact the partnership will generate for women globally. Talked to the president and CEO, Steve McMillan, about that. He likens the partnership to the ideal tennis doubles pairing.
It's actually a remarkable fit. And we started having discussions with the WTA really late December, early January. And the first time we met, we were describing our mission and purpose. And really, we talk about ourselves as being the global champions of women's health. And what was fascinating is, as we learned more and more of the history of the WTA dating back to its founding in 1972 or 73, is all that they have done for women's health, women's equality, women's rights. And that's exactly what we do. And it was just sort of this magical thing that we were both sitting there talking and saying, if there's ever a corporate and sports fit, this is probably the most perfect one on the planet, in that both organizations are committed to the exact same areas. So from there, we initially were thinking about just doing a small, sponsorship, get involved in something little, but we just came together so much. And then we realized the needs and the opportunities the WTA had. And a big part of what we're trying to do with Hologic right now is we realize we need advocates on a global basis. And the WTA is very global. And to get the messaging out, it was just a great fit.
That timing coincides, Steve, with this controversy surrounding Peng Shuai. She's the Chinese tennis star, of course, who essentially was disappeared in China after alleging sexual abuse and harassment at the hands of a Chinese state official. Did that timing have something to do with the deal, or was it merely coincidental?
No, I would actually tell you that was a catalyst for us that got our attention. Frankly, we've never been involved in sports marketing. Our first foray was actually, we ran an ad on the Super Bowl this year because we've been working for the past few years with Mary J. Blige. And so that opened up when she was announced that she was going to be performing at halftime. We thought, let's do an ad with her because, again, it was right within our brand character. And if you saw the ad, it was very different than the rest of the Super Bowl ads. It was really more of a public service announcement. It was, as we were doing that, we saw what was going on with the WTA, and we'd really never thought much about them, but realized, hey, this is a purpose-driven organization. Let's connect with them. So I would say that was a catalyst. We were very well aware of it. We appreciate the values that they have. We didn't do it because of that, but we became much more aware of it, of the whole situation, of the WTA and their needs through, their courageous actions.
Yeah, pulling out of China, all their events, certainly they took a hit in the pocketbook, so this certainly made up for that financially. You mentioned that Super Bowl ad with Mary J. Blige. She said, quote, "I want women everywhere to know that real love means putting yourself first and prioritizing your annual screening." So why the Queen? Why was she such a good fit? And tell us more about that mission of screenings around the planet.
Sure. There's a couple of simple things. First and foremost, when you look at particularly breast and cervical cancer, these are two cancers that if you get screened early, they're incredibly treatable. My own mother is technically a double survivor of breast cancer, both times because it was found early. So, getting women screened early is so key. The other piece that we've noticed is clearly women of color, particularly in the United States, have been left behind on a lot of the technological advances and are not getting screened with the regularity that, a lot of white women are. And so we had partnered actually with Mary J. Blige on a project we call Project Health Equality. She actually rang the NASDAQ opening bell with us last October for Breast Cancer Awareness Month because she had an aunt that died of breast cancer. So again, it's very personal. I mean, one of the magical things when you work at Hologic and we're talking women's health, most people either, in their family, unfortunately, or close friends, know somebody who's been, stricken by either breast or cervical cancer. So we have a lot of natural advocates. So we were working with Mary J on our Project Health Equality. And then when she was picked to be the only female performer at the Super Bowl halftime show, we just thought, you know what, let's do something a little out of our comfort zone and let's use it to try to get the messaging out further, because we knew it would get a lot of ancillary attention, which it clearly did because of, obviously working with her got us a lot more awareness than we would have even just on our own. And that's a little how we think about the WTA is the Hologic name is important and nice, but in reality, you partner with the WTA, our messaging will get to tens of millions of more people in a relevant fashion than if it was just Hologic on our own.
Leading a women's healthcare company as a male CEO and president, do you find skepticism, and what is it in your personal or professional experience that helps you push back against that skepticism?
Yeah, I think for people who know my story, I was raised by a single mom and my older sister. And it's funny, I gave a speech last fall when we were unveiling the Global Women's Health Index, where I quoted Helen Reddy's I Am Woman song. And that song came out, ironically, 50 years ago. I was a little kid, and it probably had a bigger impact on me as a, young kid, young boy, than it did on most other boys. But I think in the end, what so many women have commented to me is women need male champions. We can't make women's issues just, women just throw it off to women. And I've watched all these companies that form these women's networks, and, they get all the women together and tell them, here, you go solve the problem. Well, so much of it starts and ends when the men start to champion this. That's where we make enormous difference. And so I think what's been fascinating to watch within our own company, where we have a lot of great, women leaders on my team and everything else, they know that I have been able to be a catalyst and that it's great to have male voices in the room, not just the women's voices in the rooms talking about women's health. And so in an ironic way, I think, it's ultimately, to quote Helen Reddy, you need your brother to understand. She finished the song until, I'm still an embryo, and I've got a long, long way to go until I make my brother understand. And I'm trying to help make the brothers understand, and all of us understand, that together, it's the men and women together that are going to make the big difference for women's health. It's not just a women's issue. It's a societal issue.
Couldn't quite get Steve to break into song there, but almost, a lot like Brad there. It's a good message she has about being a male leader of a women's health company. And he also said a really valuable lesson they learned that translates to other companies in COVID is their ability to adapt. A lot of med device companies got hammered in COVID because hospitals essentially became COVID centers. Well, they became a COVID testing company. You saw the stock chart there. They were at 82 years ago, dropped down to $30 a share, and now they've built back up and in the low 70s today. So that ability to adapt, I think, is something we all learned in the last couple of years, guys.
Dave Briggs, thanks for bringing us that interview.